Well then, let's begin. Today's session. Okay. How long will look? Yeah, we'll just wrap it up very quickly, and we'll have a small code lab so that you can actually follow up. And I'll just give you out the contents at the end of this video. I'll provide you a link to some other videos so that you guys can check it out and learn a little bit more. And we can actually interact tomorrow if you're going to come, and we'll have an interactive session tomorrow. And if you have any kind of doubts, you could drop a comment here, or you can actually ask me tomorrow also. uh, so let's start it off. uh, Before we actually move into actions on Google's code lab, we need to understand what is actions on Google. Actions on Google are basically apps that are built for the Google Assistant. I believe you all are familiar with apps. The concept of apps, the apps you have apps for Android, you have apps for iOS, and you even have web apps. But action on Google is a something different, something innovative, and something of the future. Therefore, it is an app because apps are everywhere. So it is an app for the Google Assistant. I think you should be familiar with what Google Assistant is. Google Assistant is your virtual assistant that is available on your phone. To list out the benefits of how action on Google is better than action on better than any other app, or suppose a website that you interact with. It is better because, as you know, the Google Assistant is completely on the cloud. So therefore, any action you build is on the cloud. So suppose you have an action and you are using it, and I have Google Assistant on my phone. You made an action and I have Google Assistant. Therefore, I have your app on my phone already. I don't need to install a specific app, go to the Play Store, go to the App Store, or go to the Action Store. It's not called Action Store. It's called Actions Directory, by the way. We'll look into the Actions Directory once you publish your action. Uh, cool. If you guys are following, could you actually drop on in the comment section so that it doesn't feel like it's a monotonous way of interaction. um, cool about that. So as we knew, actions on Google are your apps for the Google Assistant. And on Google Assistant, cool bro. On Google Assistant, you have your action and it is directly deployed on the cloud. So as I said, you need to make apps for the Google Assistant, apps for iOS, apps for Android, or even web apps. But in Google actions on Google, you need to make your app once, and that is already on all of the platform that uses Google Assistant. So may it be your Android phone, iOS phone, your Chromebooks, your Google Home devices, your Android TVs, your Android Auto devices, or your headsets that have Google Assistant inbuilt. All of those has Google Assistant. Therefore, your action can be on any of those platforms. And just a tidbit of knowledge, Google Assistant is available on 1 billion plus devices. And 1 billion is like such a huge number. It is like one with a lot of zeros. Okay, it is a bigger number. So your reach is not to a specific group of audience, but to all of the users that have Google Assistant. There's a plus plus. And as I said, your action is on the cloud. Therefore, you don't need to install anything. You are there. Your action is already there. Yeah. Yeah. Just a sec. Yeah. Please. Sayan, welcome back, Sayan.
Hi guys.
Yeah. Yeah, Manish. Yeah. So basically saying all the developers have a reach to 1 billion plus users, not 1 billion, 1 billion plus users. So you make your app, you can have your app directly available to 1 billion plus users. So
Continue.
yeah. So Sayan will be back helping us with sharing the screen. Uh, he's kind of a technical expert on this. I'm just actions on Google guy. Completely different story. So yeah, 1 billion plus devices. And what more? You can build your actions in 30 plus languages. with more than 7 native languages here from India that will be available later this year. So you can build your actions in 30 plus languages and 37 by the end of this year, which is a pretty cool number, right? I believe so. So you got platform independence, you got everything on the cloud, so you don't need physical storage space. You got a lot of devices, a lot of users to interact with, your audience base. Then you got language support. What all do you need? I think as a developer, that is something everyone everyone will be looking forward to. Uh, Well, Manish, what are those few Indian languages? Hindi. I wish audio was. Yeah, Hindi. Hindi is already there on the actions on Google list. Yeah, the 30 languages I told about, Hindi is already there. So you can make an action on Google right now in Hindi. No issues. And Odia is being translated now. The 7 native languages I was talking about, Odia is one of them. So you can have Bengali, Odia, Tamil. Those three I'm sure of, and others there are four. You can check it out of the internet. So that is something cool. Well, on actions on Google, you had your you had your plus points on why using an actions on Google. Then if we move on to why we do not use the why we are shifting from those native platforms. Can anyone tell me what is the UI that we are using on those native platforms? The on your phones, on your regular apps, your websites, or any other things that you have been using till now. App for the Android, iOS, doesn't matter. Can you tell me what UI it is currently using? You can write it on the you can write it on the chat, or if you could actually drop a comment. I don't know how this YouTube thing works. So that's a question for you guys. Think about it a little bit. But if you follow me throughout the sessions, yeah, definitely not VUI, because VUI Manish is our helping friend here. So VUI is something that we are going to read about now, talk about now. So what is VUI? VUI is voice user interface. The question I had, your answer, it rhymes with VUI. Think about it. Biggest hint ever. So VUI is voice user interface. That is something derived from conversational UI. Well, Drishti, you are correct. It's GUI. 10 points for Drishti. Cool. If you want to expand GUI, I'll give a point for that too. GUI, expand. So, conversational UI. We were there in conversational UI. So, conversational UI is something uh, that is derived from two words, conversation and UI. So conversation is something that is happening between two persons, or a person and a machine, or between two machines, or just a person talking to himself on the webcam. Yeah, 1 point for Shashank also. Graphical user interface. GUI is graphical user interface that you have been using on your phone. Suppose, say, this is your phone. The screen that you're using, it is graphical user interface. But if you talk to a Google Assistant on your phone, that becomes your voice user interface or your conversational UI. So yeah, the conversational UI, I was saying about conversations. So conversations are happening between two persons, two machines, a person and a machine, or a lonely guy himself on the webcam. Conversation. But and UI is something that you are familiar with. It's user interface. That is something you can interact with in your phone or your Google Home devices, a device without a screen, a device with screen. That is a user interface. And voice user interface is something that is your technology of the future. That is what is implemented in the Google Assistant, because you don't have to touch and type and scroll and swipe every time you need to use a Google Assistant. You just need to say, okay Google, talk to DSC KiiT.
Okay, here's the test version of DSC KiiT.
I don't think it is visible, but you can obviously hear the audio.
Welcome to DSC KiiT. How may I help you?
Yeah, so that is the action on Google for RDSC KiiT. You can check it out on your phone. You just need to say, okay, Google, talk to DSC KiiT. That's all. You can check out our events, check out our previous events, check out our upcoming events, and even register for the same. Uh, uh, so conversational UI, that is your hint to conversational UI, how you have to how you'll be using how conversational UI is going to shape the future. Because I don't even need to touch my phone to call upon my app and interact with it. My phone is there somewhere lying, and I just am here from the room. I'm a lazy guy. I just say, okay, Google, and talk on with it. Yeah, my the okay Google thing is pretty responsive. It drags on even if you are at one corner of the room talking to your phone at another corner. So that is your introduction to conversational UI. Conversational UI, voice user interface, you can call it whatever you may. And usually what happens is, when you are talking with a when you are bringing the word voice user interface or conversational user interface, people tend to confuse it with something. Similarly, you must have heard of, it's called chatbots. If you have heard of a chatbot, right in the top chats, right in the chats. uh, Chatbots are basically something. Well, that's your question. Explain a chatbot. uh, we may be handing out goodies to you guys. I'm noting down your points, okay? uh, so we may be handing you guys goodies for your correct answers. There's that. So yeah, so people confuse voice user interface and conversational user interface with chatbots, because they think that what we are building here is a chatbot. But simply, it's a common misconception. Because actions on Google can be a chatbot, but also at the same time, actions on Google can be something different. It can have all the capabilities of a regular app. Suppose you can send emails with an action on Google. You can notify the users with pop-up notifications. You can have location access. You can have web access. You can have multiple things. What all things you have on your Android application or iOS application, you can have in a Google Assistant app, that is actions on Google. So that was the misconception. I could have actually given you the demo, but that was something the guys who came to the session got. We can actually have a demo if you want. Tomorrow you can approach me and we'll just talk about it in more details. Or if you have any kind of doubts, you can actually ask me here, or you could ask on the DSC KiiT's Instagram page, or you can follow Amrit Dash and you can ask me there also. uh, any kind of doubts. Or tomorrow we'll be having a session, so you can come up and approach for the doubts. Well, we know what how the actions on Google thing works, how it is built, on what basis this works. So to start it off, what is the minimum requirements of an actions on Google? What are the prerequisites before starting an actions on Google? Do you need to know some coding language? Do you need to be a coding freak to start off with actions on Google? Well, good news, you don't have to be. If you're a coder, if you don't know coding, no code, right? Yeah, you hate coding. I know that. Me too. Uh, so yeah, if you are not a coder, it's fine. You just need to have your basic concepts of English clear so as to understand what it is writing and what you need to write back. Because as I said, it is conversation that goes on, or the you as a machine to the user that you are serving. You need to write down the conversations. So if you need to write down the conversations, your conversation should be clear. So you need to be good in English. So you don't need to know any programming language. You don't need to have a high complex machinery, like a graphical and graphics intensive, processor intensive, memory intensive system to build actions on Google. You don't need that, because टेंसरफ्लो वाले तो वो सब ले गए ना, उनके लिए हम ग्राफिक्स छोड़ दिए हैं सब. हमें बस actions बनाना है. तो good news is your actions have your actions is built on a platform which have machine learning directly integrated onto it, and those machine learning codes are directly run on the Google servers. So you don't have to think about your systems processor, or you don't have to worry about any kind of pressure on your system. If you have a small weary system with a Intel Core Pentium, it's cool. You can build actions on Google. But what you need is a pretty decent internet connection. Because as I said, your action runs completely on the cloud, and to access the cloud, you need internet. And yeah, Renan Martin. Renan Martin was the grammar book that I used to learn back in the 10th. Renan Martin is a good English grammar book. Basically, what I'm trying to say is your English should be good enough to understand and write down your responses to the users. So cool. Uh, yeah, the hard part I was talking about, uh, the capabilities of a regular app. Yeah, you can do that too, but for that you need to know a little bit of JavaScript, and you become in the pro mode of the actions on Google. You can access that. You can build complex actions with which can handle multiple tasks and do some stuff that you haven't been doing earlier with actions on Google. So now as we are familiar with what we need to start, let's start. uh are you guys following me? Please drop a comment, please drop a chat, whatever, so that I can know you guys are following. So we'll just start a code lab. Let me give you the link to the code lab. /code lab. If you guys are following, if you could open up, let me open that too. Just turn your volume on, just listen to me, and look under the site, so that you don't have to see my face every time this thing pops up. We were actually trying to do a screen share, but difficulties are not something that we are not familiar with. So there's that. Uh, if you could, just move on to the site. Are we on the code lab one? Are we guys on a page which says build actions for Google Assistant level 1, and there is an overview? Mm, yeah. So on that site, there's a pretty much story written over there which you can read. But as we are a time sensitive panel going on here, we'll just skip it out, and I'll just brief you about what this thing is. In this code lab, you'll be learning to build a simple conversational actions which will ask the user to input their favorite color, and then it will show you the lucky num it will show you the lucky number according to the color it fetches from the user. Are we clear? If you could go back to the page where my face is and type out yes, it'll be good. uh, just a minute. Validation is good motivation, guys. So if you just validate me, you guys are following, I'll be motivated to tell you guys more. Cool, cool. So people actually went back to the page where my face is and they said yes. Thank you for seeing my face for so long. Well, you could move back to the code lab, and we can follow it from there. We can follow it from there. Yeah. So we'll build a small actions and we'll make it live today only. Uh, you can read the story that has been written there, or you can simply scroll it down and click on next, where it says understand how it works. On that page, if you scroll down, well, okay, we have a friend who joined in now. Okay, Pravad. Hi. So actually, DSC KiiT. So this is a session on actions on Google, which has been conducted by DSC KiiT. DSC KiiT is your DSC KiiT is your developer students club for KiiT University, and it has and it is okay. I'll just show you both in one. We are actually handling your actions on Google session. Your actions on Google is basically an app for the Google Assistant. So if you have your phone at hand, you could pull up your Google Assistant by saying, "Okay, Google, talk to DSC Kit," and say, "Talk to DSC
Alright,
Kit."
getting the test version of DSC KiiT. Hey, welcome to DSC KiiT. How may I help you?
What is DSC?
Google collaborates with university students who are passionate about growing developer communities and supports them with starting student clubs on their campuses, hence giving birth to the DSC.
Well, so you can go to our action and check out what DSC is. But for now, we'll continue with the actions on Google session. For people who joined in now, you can go to the bit.ly/codelab1, which is a link I have given up in the chats, and you need to scroll down and click on next, because we are on the second slide. First slide is just an overview. You can read it after the session. So yeah, guys, if you guys are still tuned in, on the second page, if you scroll down, there is a image. There is a second image where there is something written user input and conversation HTTP request. We'll have a small interaction about what that is. The first thing you see is the user. It interacts with the Google Assistant. The user gives the user input to the Google Assistant, and the Google Assistant then sends the conversation request to the action, and the action handles the conversation request and gives back a response, which the Google Assistant parses and gives out as a conversational response. So if the user says hi, the Google Assistant understands it is hi, then it uses machine learning and natural language processing and sends it to actions, and the action sends back a conversation HTTP request, a conversation HTTP response, which says hello to you too, welcome to something something, and that is what the Google Assistant tells the user back. You can read out all of those points on your own, and to better understand how this thing works. For now, we'll just click on next, and there is your setup. What you need to do is, first, for your first setup, you need to go to activity controls page and then sign in with your Google account. If you have not done already, there is a link there. Go to the link and ensure that the following permissions are enabled: web and app activity, device information, and voice and audio activity. Do check it out if all those three activities are turned on. Are any of the people using your KiiT email ID? If you are using KiiT email ID, please write it down in the chat so that I'll just write you back the work through it. Because if you are using a KiiT email ID, you won't be able to open your actions console. There is a little bit of problem over there. There is some administration issues. Well, KiiT don't trust its people, frankly. So if you are with me till now, on that page, if you scroll down, there is something called create an actions project. What you need to do is, you create an actions project. For that, your first step is open actions console. You have a link to that. Then click on new project and type in a project name. Your project name can be anything. You can write anything, literally. ANYTHING. You can write anything and it will work. So if you have done that, you can click on create project and wait for the project to be built. And if your project is built, you can, yeah, sure, man. Uh, can you tell me where are you stuck now? The steps I'm saying are directly written on the code lab. If you follow the third page, the third step on the code lab, it is setup. It's written check your Google permission settings. You have a link to that. Uh, if it helps, I'll just put a link here too. The actions are enabled. Okay, all the three activities are enabled here. All the three permissions. After that, what you need to do is you need to go into the actions console. It is console.actions.google.com. You have the link over there. You can directly go to the console from there, and you need to click on new project, and you need to type in a project name. You can write in anything. You can write actions code lab. It's fine. It is for your own reference. And after writing a project name, you can click on create project. You can change your country or region to India, but it doesn't really matter. You can click on create project, and after that you need to scroll down and click on conversational, because the app that we are going to make is not on a predefined template, but you will be creating it from scratch. So, and it is a conversational thing, so we'll be clicking on conversational as our theme. If at any point you feel like you are not understanding what is going on, you can go back to the code lab. That is, your link for the code lab is bit.ly/codelab1. I'll just share the code lab link once more. Yeah, we had a little bit of connectivity issues. Sorry about that. Uh, are you guys following what is going on, right? You're following from the code lab. If you are following from the code lab, we are at the conversational thing. You clicked on conversational, and what you need to do is click build your action to expand options and select add actions. But I think this thing is already has been changed. You have gone to the consoles page and you have clicked on your project name. You have given a project name and you have marked it conversational. You have marked it conversational. On the top of the page, there are a few options: overview, develop, test, deploy, analytics. What you need to do is click on develop, and on your left hand side hamburger menu, you have an option called actions. You need to click on actions and click on add action. Click on create action dialog, select a custom intent, and click on build. If you have done that, if you have done that, you'll be on a different page, a page which is dialog flow. Are you familiar with dialog flow, anyone? If you're familiar with dialog flow, well, I guess no one is familiar with dialog Google. And uh, as I had said earlier, your actions on Google, it uses flow is the it uses a platform that so already integrated to it. Your platform is on Dialogflow and machine learning is directly integrated onto it. Now, yeah, Shashank, what are you saying no for? If you have any kind of doubts, you can write in the chat so that we can follow up on the doubts. Well, we'll just move ahead and know about how Dialogflow works. Your Dialogflow is your Google's service that handles your natural language understanding. because it has machine learning integrated onto it. It converts your normal English into the natural language that the computer understands, and it changes your phrase into your computer understanding and sends back a response. So if you are on the same page, uh, there is a diagram at the end, all not at the end. There is a diagram where it's written how actions work with dialog flow. If you can follow the diagram, the first column is your users column, the second is your device which has Google Assistant, in this case a Google Home device, then your third column is your Google Assistant, the fourth is your dialog flow, and the last is Firebase, which we'll study later on, not today, not tomorrow. If you have time, we'll do it some other day. For now, the user, it says something like, hey Google, talk to which language. So in this case, not familiar with that. Okay, cool, man. We'll learn it together, man. We'll learn it together. So yeah, Dialogflow is your natural language understanding platform in which you will be going to build your action. So what the user says is, hey Google, talk to which language. In this case, hey language is your action's name. It's your action's name, and how you call it. The Like if you need to use WhatsApp or Facebook, you open your app drawer, then you click on WhatsApp or click on Facebook, like that. How do you call a button to call an action? User interface. Instead, we'll be using voice user interface. So therefore, whenever you talk your Google Assistant, talk to your Google interface. So therefore, whenever you talk to your Google Assistant, talk to your Google Assistant, you pull up your Google Assistant, use the reserved word to bring up your action. Talk to your action name. So whenever you say talk to your action name, your device, Google Home device, it the Google Assistant in the Google Home device, it understands what the user is saying by converting the speech into text. Then it converts the text into something, a language that the machine understands. It gives back a response. It gives back a particular response. The dialog flow gives back a particular that intent. What I was talking about, it. Think of it as a function. Like if you are familiar with something code, some coding language, you may be familiar with functions. Can anyone tell me what functions are basically? I'll tell you the components of a function. A function has a body, a input, and an output. In this case, the intent works as the same function. Intent has the input, it's called training phrases. It has an output called responses, and the body part is something that is handled by Dialogflow itself. So therefore, whenever I say trigger welcome intent, it gives back a response, and the response is, hi there, tell me which language, which is on your Google Homes column. Then the user knows that it is a question for him. Tell me which language. The user says, tell me about Kotlin. Then once more, it has been converted from speech to text, then NLP, then it matches with the intent, which has, say, talk to Kotlin, tell me about Kotlin or anything related to Kotlin. Then it matches the intent, then it implements a webhook from the Firebase and gives a response. But this webhook part is something entirely different. Without having the webhook, the Dialogflow can give a response, which is something like, it is a hard-coded response which says the Kotlin was first announced in blah 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 blah. Then it tells story and history about Kotlin. You can set it yourself. So if you are at the building process, in the Dialogflow page, you can click on create. So our friend here Mayank Agarwal says Firebase is very complicated to use. Yeah, Mayank, Firebase is kind of complicated to use, I'd say. But once you know it, Firebase is really fun. And on our upcoming sessions, we'll be taking a session on Firebase and make it easy for you. We'll break down Firebase to every element, and we'll just have a very nice session on Firebase. And after that, I don't think you'll be saying this anymore. Firebase is very complicated. Some of the components in Firebase certainly is. Yeah, sure. Uh, some of the components in Firebase is, but the components which you're going to use for actions on Google, those are really cool. Well, if you're following with us on the Dialogflow page, click on create, and if your agent has been created, you will be on a page called intents, and that completes your step 3. You can click on next step, which is starting a conversation. On your intents page, you'll be seeing two intents. The things you are seeing now, those are intents only. It is your default fallback intent and your default welcome intent. If you could click on the default welcome, context, events, responses, actions and parameter, and fulfillment. For now, we'll be knowing about training phrases and responses. Training phrases, as I said, it's your input to the intent. Training phrase is something that the action is expecting the user to say. Suppose whenever I open an action, I say hello, it will be triggering this default welcome intent. Because if you can see on the training phrases of the default welcome intent, there are multiple things which has written hi, hello, howdy, and things like that. Those are the training phrases for the welcome intent. And every time you open your action, your default using your to get in the previous case of which language, Kotlin was a keyword which it will be looking for in the training phrases, and it matches the intent every time if the user says Kotlin. And then what it does, it will do an output. The output is nothing but the responses. Responses recommended the action you are seeing stuff like hi, how will tell back whenever you say hi, the action will say hi, how are you doing? It has 4 responses. Hi, how are you doing? Hello, how can I help you? Good day, what can I do for you? Hi, you say some, you call this default welcome intent, it will be showing one random response out of this 4. For now, what we'll do is we'll delete all of those default responses. On the side of the responses, there is a small delete button. If you could click that delete button, or you can directly copy it from the code lab page. It says welcome, what is your favorite color? You can copy it and paste it in your response for the default welcome intent. So for this, what will happen is whenever you say hi or whenever you open your action, it says welcome, what is your favorite color? Are we following? Because if we are, please write down on the chat menu, uh, because it was not a lot of complicated steps, and if you could have followed the code lab, it's a piece of cake and it's everything, it's written there. uh, after you have after you have changed your text response, you need to click on save, and you'll see a intent saved notification which pops out at the bottom of the screen. Are we guys following? I'm not able to follow if you guys are following or not. Well, anyhow, we'll just continue with it. So yeah, so if you have saved your action till now, you can go back and test your welcome intent. For that, what you need to do is on your actions console, go back to the dialog flow console, and on the left hand side there will be a button called integrations. You need to click on integrations, and then click on Google Assistant. Then go to the integration settings and click on test and click on test. So if you are doing on test,